Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Together We Battle podcast. You are joining us again on the Roots of Growth Short Spiritual Practices for Everyday Life series. And I would love to welcome back my co host, Nancy.
Hi, great to be here.
So, we are moving right along. If you are just finding this and this is your first episode, welcome. Please go back and listen to 1 through 12. We've done 12 so far. And if you have been with us every week since starting, thank you so much, and we appreciate you being here. So, Nancy, let's quickly touch back. Week 12 was called Press the Pause Button. Can you give a little bit of information before we move on?
Yeah, so essentially we have a short bit of time between when information comes in and then we react and off we go. And if we can take a breath in that space, we will be able to respond rather than react, because reacting is often a good word to use as a trigger, and we don't want to live our life being triggered. We want to live our life being intentional. So taking that pause will help us be a little bit more intentional with how we live.
Yes, we all need that reminder. So for week 13, we are going to talk about enough. Will you give everybody a little bit about that and maybe share a story and then how we can use a practice for that?
Sure. So, it's a really interesting question to ask yourself, what is enough? I was recently at a church yard sale. There was a ton of stuff, and I saw someone pick something up and say, "Oh, this is really pretty, but I have enough of them, but I want it." And I'm thinking, well, if you have enough, then why do you need it? It's gotten to the point I'm older, and so something comes in the house new. Oftentimes something needs to find a home going out of the house. I don't need the clutter. But anyway, often we're looking at abundance, right? This notion of more, more, more. And that takes us into the future. I could get this and I could get that. I could save money for this. When often abundance is more than we actually need. So that notion of abundance is kind of sometimes based in fear that I won't have enough. So seeking that abundance is really different than finding enough. So enough will have us that experience of satisfaction, of well-being. So let's take a moment and think, what is enough? When we have a meal, we're satisfied after the meal. We don't need to eat for a while, right? When we've arrived at our destination, the GPS stops giving instructions. We've had enough instructions. When we assuage our thirst, we're not thirsty in that moment. When we have enough, the desire kind of melts away afterwards, and our focus or our internal sense can shift from what we are needing to being sated, that we're okay, that things are fine. Now, we can think of other experiences of being sated. The touch of a loved one, reaching for someone's hand, the sight of the morning or evening sun on a landscape, sound of laughter, when a favorite song comes to an end and there's just that bit of silence, and in that silence is this fullness from having listened to something that's a favorite. So there's lots of examples. The trap can be, are we seeking enough, like racing to catch it, or are we able to find enough? Because often we just see what's missing rather than what we have. So we can almost think of this as a time problem, right? What we're seeking, what we're wanting is in the future, and there's always a future, so there will never be enough. I think of my children and various toys and games, that there was always one more edition coming out, and they wanted that because what they had wasn't enough, compared to being conscious of what we can find in our lives and the relationships. So there's a difference between how we navigate creating desires for ourselves, what we want into the future, and how we're able to sit with what we have now. Obviously, we need shelter, we need food, we need relationships. Absolutely core for human needs. What we need to kind of pay attention to is the niggling, the yearning, the desire for the other side, rather than a practice of sitting contentment, of enough, of being able to just hold this beautiful sense of enoughness in our hearts and minds and bodies. So I do have a story, maybe two. My husband and I were gifted with a sabbatical grant. We were away for 15 weeks. There was going to be about a 90-degree temperature difference. And we're also aware that being in Europe for most of that, we may need to lug our suitcases up and down stairs. So we decided to limit what we were going to bring to a backpack, and I'll call it an overhead airplane bin size suitcase. Took some doing. We were given the suggestion to bring everything you were going to bring and walk around your neighborhood for an hour, then go home and remove what you didn't think you'd need. And we did end up removing some things. And so we had minimal things with us, and it worked really well. And yes, we did, of course, hire places to stay and paid for a lot of food, either at a restaurant or a grocery store. But it was enough. It was absolutely enough. And then after having lived for 15 weeks like that, I came home to a house filled with stuff. And I can remember thinking, what do I need all of this for? So I began going through and lightening the load. We had lots of towels. Animal shelters always need towels. How many do I need? So it's an interesting thing, especially this is being aired for the first time on Christmas Eve. When the children are small, they're always looking for the next gift. They want more, more, more. The thing is, how do you invite a child to sit with what they've just been given rather than asking what else? Because sometimes children have in their mind what they want, and it isn't always possible to give a child what they want. But I know most parents work very, very hard to give a child what they need. It's a different thing. So practice can be more of I'll call it a reflection, where we think through the past and get yourself centered in whatever way you do that. Maybe a few breaths seated. Make sure you have some space and time to do this. And recall a time when you chased happiness. It could be in an object, it could be in your feelings, it could be with other people. And become aware of the fleetingness of this moment of happiness. I'm sure you've experienced that, just the sense of, okay, I'm done. I got this, on to the next thing. But just take and sit in that one moment when you become aware of the fleetingness, the short-livedness of that happiness, because this feeling is not sustainable for a long time. Now let this recede, let it go away. Now in the present moment, I invite you to focus your awareness on a deep sense of some piece of contentment in your life. This could be really simple. I have a roof over my head. Me personally, I love to listen to the rain on the roof when I'm inside, safe and dry. There's something just beautiful about that and having that safe, dry space. It could be about being clean. I love to emerge from a bath or a shower and feel clean. There's a deep contentment in my soul on that. It could be something about having had a meal. This is a time of year where we often share meals with a larger family. And I wish for you that this is a stress-free, fun event where you think you're not only with food, but with conversation and the love in the room. It could be about enjoying companionship. It could be about lots of things. And take your time. And I invite you to allow the enoughness of this sense or feeling to just wrap around and through you. And notice that this enoughness is real. It's enough. So the goal is to be content with who you are and what you have in the moment. And we will never be the same into the future or from the past. I'm not worried about that. We're looking at the moment, what's going on here and now. And by focusing on whatever small piece of good that you can find in your life, you're going to be amazed at how quickly you realize things are better than you thought because you're not looking at the blemishes. You're looking for and finding those aspects of your life that are enough and life giving because you're finding them. You're not seeking them. That's the huge difference right there. Are you finding enough or are you seeking something that you want? Because let's face it, a lot of the stuff we purchase, well, it goes into the closet. And then when we clean out the closet, it goes somewhere else. We don't use it or we rarely use it. It's an attitude change, right? From finding something rather than always seeking something that's in the future that we're chasing.
Yeah. I love your
So,
examples. I really like this one because, as you said, it's airing on Christmas Eve. So, something I would challenge parents to do is pay close attention. Think about, and I know you said we're not thinking about the past or the future, we're being present. But for this particular example, I want people to think back about the last few weeks where you were hustle bustle, worried about, do we have enough money for Christmas gifts? Do we have enough gifts? Do we have blah, 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 blah. Think about how much stress you put on yourself or your relationship or your family because you needed to get more and more and more and more, instead of sitting back and saying, wow, we already have enough. These are just a few extra little blessings that we can provide. We don't need to go crazy because, as you said, and you shared another story with me earlier, Christmas morning, your kids just want to unwrap, put it aside, unwrap, put it aside, unwrap, put it aside, right? It's just that repetition. And then in 2 months or 2 days, they've forgotten about it. You spent all that money. You were frustrated with your significant other. There was tension in the house instead of enjoying the holiday.
right, to pick something out, to work with it. And my family of origin, there are 7 of us. And we took turns, one gift at a time, opening them up, exclaiming about them, making it work. My aunt and uncle would come, and I had an aunt that gave us something that either needed batteries or it had a jillion pieces. And so we got to work on that together and to stay in the moment of the enoughness of whatever could be an experience. It could be even that feeling of just being satisfied, to just hold it and stay with it. Feelings come and go,
Yeah.
but
And
there's a time where you can just hold it and extend it and oomph and live in that enoughness.
well, and based on the podcast focus itself, came from going through a hard season. So for me, to your point, with another example, it was each day I woke up and I was like, I'm alive.
Hmm.
Thank you for life. At this point, thank you for hair. It was those things where I could have a quiet, comfortable home to heal, to let my body do what it needed to do to get myself back to optimum health and to have a safe space where I could rest and get through that season. So, regardless whether you're hearing this on Christmas Eve and you're reflecting on what's around your Christmas tree, or whether you're hearing this at any time and you're in a tough season, just start to look around and say, okay, I have enough. I have a warm, cozy sweater on this cold day. I have a pair of boots to go out in 5 inches of snow. I don't know, whatever it is, but you have enough
Hmm.
and use this practice. It's a life changer, really, I thought.
Yeah, we could think of this as an awareness practice, right?
Mhm.
There are many practices that have to do with awareness. So entering into what one has enough of rather than living in a model of scarcity where you have to wait for the future for something to be satisfying. But then when we get there, it quickly becomes part of the past and we're still looking into the future.
Yes.
So how do we stay in the now? How do we stay in the now of the fullness and enoughness of our lives?
Yeah. You hear that a lot, the whole scarcity thing. So I just want to definitely bring that to people's attention.
Hmm.
Be really present in it. So let's ask everybody, as you're hearing this, um, pull out your journal and write what you have enough of.
Hmm.
Bring it to awareness.
Or even the question, what is enough?
Yeah. And write about it. Journal about it, brain dump it, whatever you want to call it, and then bring it to the community and share it with all of us so that we too can say, oh, you know what? I had that same idea, or oh, I didn't think about that one. That's a really great one of enough. And we can celebrate each other and cheer each other on.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Thanks, Jess.
Yeah, of course. I love this. This is helpful. I think these are very helpful practices, especially during a wild time of the year for the holiday.
Hmm.
All right. Well, we are moving into the final week, week 14 of this series. And Nancy, if you want to give a small teaser on the focus loving kindness, what do we need to know about that?
So this is an old Buddhist practice, actually, and the focus of it is to assist us. Oh, you could think of letting go, but it is a practice of bringing loving kindness to ourselves, to others we love, to people we may not know, but we kind of interact. So think of the checkout person at the grocery store and even to individuals who are having challenges with. It's a way of extending our deepest desire for the world of love and peace, contentment out beyond us. We'll talk more next week.
Thank you for joining us for this week's Roots of Growth. We hope today's practice gave you a pause, a breath, and a gentle rooting in what truly matters. Don't forget to try it this week and share your experience on social media using hashtag Roots of Growth. And next week, we will be exploring loving kindness, and we hope you will come back and join us. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.